The Law of Emptiness. Imagine a paradox. The path to real wealth does not begin in a bank, in the office of a successful company, or even in the sanctuary of spiritual practice. It begins beside your trash bin. It sounds absurd, but in a moment, you will understand why this is one of the few principles that actually works, and why millions of people remain trapped in poverty, emotional exhaustion, and unhappiness without even realizing it. Today, I want to open something for you that can change the way you see your entire life. I call it the Law of Emptiness, or the Law of the Vacuum. This law is not something I invented. Its roots are deeply connected to neurophysiology and the way the human brain actually functions. Research in brain science has shown that consciousness operates through both rigid and flexible systems. Some neural pathways remain occupied by old patterns, old programs, old emotional loops, while others can be recruited for new tasks, new thinking, and new possibilities, but only when they are available. A brain overloaded with outdated patterns, unresolved trauma, emotional residue, and repetitive internal scripts simply cannot receive the new. It runs on autopilot, replaying the same scenarios, the same disappointments, the same failures over and over again. So why has your life felt stuck? You work, you try, you meditate, visualize, ask the universe for money, love, health, opportunity. You read self-development books, watch motivational videos, set goals every new year, and then what? A year passes, 2 years, 5 years, and nothing really changes. The same job that drains your soul, the same relationship in which you feel unseen, the same bank account that empties before the month is even over, the same dreams that remain dreams. And eventually, you start turning against yourself. You think, something must be wrong with me. Maybe I do not want it badly enough. Maybe I do not know how to attract success. So you push harder. You double your effort. You work more. You repeat affirmations hundreds of times a day, and still nothing. If this feels familiar, listen carefully, because now I am going to show you the real reason this happens. Imagine a glass filled to the very top with water. The water is cloudy, stale, maybe even contaminated, but the glass is full. Now imagine that life is trying to pour clean spring water into that same glass, the water of new opportunities, money, love, health, renewal. What happens? Exactly. The new water spills over the edge and disappears. The glass is already full. Your life is that overfilled glass. It is packed with old things you have not used in 10 years but keep just in case. It is crowded with toxic relationships that drain your product for cries. Strength. It is full of resentment toward your parents, anger toward former partners, guilt over past mistakes. Your inner world has become a landfill of emotional debris, and your outer environment has become a warehouse of physical clutter. And when life tries to bring you something new, a new job, a new partner, a new source of income, it finds no space, no room, fully occupied, and so that opportunity moves on to someone who is ready to receive it, someone who has room, someone who made space. The physics of this process are simple and unforgiving. Nature does not tolerate a vacuum. As soon as empty space appears, reality moves to fill it. But here is the key point. The emptiness must come first. You cannot invite the new into a space that is already occupied by the old. That is not mysticism. That is structure. That is reality. It is as impossible as trying to inhale without first exhaling. So why do people not let go? Why do they cling to what no longer works, to what hurts them, to what has already expired? The answer is simple and brutal. Fear. People are terrified of emptiness. They are afraid of ending up with nothing. They fear that if they let go of the job they hate, the partner who devalues them, the objects that bring no joy, they will receive nothing in return. This fear lives deep in the subconscious. We were raised in cultures of accumulation. Save every penny. Do not throw anything away. What if you need it later? Better something in your hand than possibility in the distance. These programs may once have been adaptive. They may have helped previous generations survive scarcity, war, deprivation, instability. But today, for many people, they have become a prison. Modern psychology also speaks about what is sometimes called an existential vacuum. an inner emptiness people avoid at all costs. They fill every moment with something: television, social media, overwork, shopping, unhealthy relationships, noise, distraction, anything to avoid silence. Because in silence, they would have to meet themselves. And that is what frightens most people more than anything else. But here is the irony. It is precisely in that emptiness that your real self begins to emerge. It is in silence that you hear the voice of your deeper truth, your actual desires, your authentic direction. Emptiness is not death. It is not an ending. It is the beginning of the new. It is a blank page on which life can write a different story. So let me ask you, what are you holding in your glass? Be honest. Look around you right now. What surrounds you? Old clothes you have not worn in 2 years, but keep because maybe one day I will lose weight. Broken dishes you feel sorry to throw away. Gifts from people you quietly resent. Photos of former partners who shattered your heart. Furniture you never liked but inherited from your family. Now look inside yourself. What is there? Resentment toward the mother who criticized you your whole life. Anger toward the father who left or was emotionally absent. Guilt toward someone you once betrayed. Shame over a failure from 10 years ago. Fear that you are not good enough. A belief that you do not deserve happiness. All of that is the content of your glass. And while it remains there, the new has nowhere to land. Life may be trying to place gifts into your hands every single day, but your hands are already full. You are clutching old debris so tightly that you cannot receive anything else. You cry, "Where is my abundance? Why is happiness not coming to me?" And happiness stands right beside you, waiting for you to finally unclench your fists and release the trash you are gripping. Neuroscience has shown that the brain can create new neural connections even later in life. But this happens most effectively in response to new, meaningful, non-stereotyped experience. When you replay old resentments, repeat the same behaviors, and live surrounded by objects from the past, your brain keeps firing the same old circuits. It becomes anchored in the past. New connections do not form. Development slows. Life stalls. This is the law of emptiness in action. It works with startling precision. Create space, and space will be filled. That is not magic. It is the physics of reality. Throw away the old clothes, and your closet opens for clothes that actually fit your body, your identity, your current life. Leave the job that is killing your spirit, and suddenly, an opportunity appears that you were never able to see while clinging to what was draining you. End the toxic relationship, and your life makes room for a person who can love, respect, and meet you properly. But the key word here is not ask, not visualize, not meditate, not wish. The key word is release. Make space, create the vacuum, empty the glass, clear both the outer and inner environment. I know what you may be feeling right now. Fear, resistance. The voice in your head says, "This is insane. If I let go of what I have, I will be left with nothing." Better something than nothing. But that voice is lying. It is not the voice of wisdom. It is the voice of fear. It is the voice of survival programs that are outdated, exhausted, and often generations old. The truth is this: as long as you cling to at least something, real abundance cannot enter your life. Life reads your signals. It sees, he already has a job. She already has a partner. Their home is already full. Their inner world is already occupied. Nothing more is needed. And so life moves on to the ones who are open, ready, available. The first step toward freedom. Right now, in this moment, you stand at a threshold. There are two paths in front of you. The first is to close this episode, nod, say, "Interesting," and go back to the same life. To continue holding on to what is dead. To continue complaining that nothing changes. To continue waiting for a miracle that cannot arrive because there is no room for it. The second path is to accept the law of emptiness. To understand that clearing space is not loss, it is an investment in the future. Every object you release, every resentment you let go of, every toxic relationship you leave, this is not deprivation. This is the release of energy. Energy that is currently being consumed to maintain dead weight. energy that could be redirected toward creating a new life, clearer, stronger, more abundant, more aligned. The choice is yours. But remember this, life will not give you the new while you are still gripping the old. This is not punishment. It is law. It applies to everyone, rich and poor, young and old, believers and skeptics alike. Create space, and life will fill it. That is one of the most reliable promises reality offers. So the question is simple. Are you ready to take the first step? Are you ready to empty your glass so that life can fill it again with clean, fresh, living water, water made of new possibilities? If yes, then let us go further. Now that you understand the law of emptiness, it is time to move into the most uncomfortable part, identifying what exactly is blocking your life. We begin with the most visible layer, the one you can touch with your hands, see with your eyes, weigh on a scale, physical things, the objects that have taken over your home, your apartment, your room, the things you call possessions, but that may in truth be nothing more than accumulated stagnation. And before you say, "My home is fine," I am not a hoarder. Stop. Stay with me. Because what I am about to say may fundamentally change the way you think about order, cleanliness, and the energy of space. Things are frozen energy. Let us begin with a basic principle. Every object in your home is not just an object, it is a condensed form of energy. The energy of the money you spent, the time you used to get it, the attention you gave it, the emotional significance you attached to it, that energy has taken form. When an object is used, it is alive in the system. Energy circulates. You wear the clothes, energy moves. You cook with the dishes, energy flows. You read the book, energy exchanges between you and the text. But what happens when something lies unused for years? No movement, no use, no attention. The energy stagnates, and stagnation turns toxic. Unused things become swamps in your environment, and a swamp poisons everything around it. Every unused item is a silent drain on your life force. Not dramatically, not loudly, but steadily, day after day, year after year. And here is the most important psychological signal hidden in this. By keeping what is dead, expired, and no longer meaningful, you send a message to reality. The message says, "I do not trust the future. I am afraid there will be nothing new. So I must cling to the old." And life responds accordingly. From a neuropsychological point of view, old objects can become anchors for old neural pathways. You see the sweater you wore 10 years ago, and your brain instantly activates the networks associated with that period of your life, the identity you had, the pain you carried, the limitations you lived in. You get locked into the past on a neural level. New connections are less likely to strengthen because the old ones keep getting reactivated. The closet that kills your dreams open, your closet. Not tomorrow, in your mind, right now. Look honestly. How many things are in there that you have not worn for over a year, over 2 years, over 5 years? You say, just in case, maybe I will need it. When I lose weight, I will wear it again. It was expensive, it was a gift. It feels wrong to get rid of it. These excuses are familiar. Let us examine them, just in case. This is not practicality. Often, it is programming yourself for future scarcity. You keep outdated clothes for some imagined dark day. And in doing so, you keep psychologically orienting yourself toward lack. When I lose weight. This is self-deception mixed with self-punishment. Every time you open the closet and see clothing that does not fit, your subconscious receives the message. You are not enough as you are. You have failed. You are still not there. That does not motivate. It weakens self-worth. It was expensive. This is the classic sunk cost trap. The money is already gone. Keeping the object does not recover it. It simply makes you continue paying for it with space, emotional friction, and repeated guilt. And perhaps the most toxic of all, gifts you do not like from people who hurt you. A blouse from a mother-in-law who constantly humiliated you. A scarf from an ex who broke your heart. An object from someone whose presence in your life was painful. Why are you keeping it? Politeness? Obligation? Fear of seeming ungrateful? Listen carefully. Every time you see that object, whether consciously or in the corner of your eye, your nervous system reacts. maybe subtly, maybe almost invisibly, but it reacts. Stress chemistry activates, cortisol rises, your body tightens. It is like a microdose of poison every day, and over time that turns into chronic fatigue, heaviness, the sense that life is effort, broken dishes. A program of deprivation now. Go to the kitchen, open the cabinets. How many chipped cups are there? Cracked plates? Pans with broken handles? You say, they still work. It is wasteful to throw them away. Stop. Every time you drink from a cracked cup, you reinforce the message, I do not deserve wholeness. This is good enough for me. The subconscious records everything. Broken objects also carry symbolism. Each day, you place your lips on a cracked cup or eat from a chipped plate. You handle an image of fracture, insufficiency, damage, and then people wonder why their lives feel fractured, damaged, and cracked at the edges. People who live with a strong sense of self-respect do not normalize brokenness in the intimate space of daily life, not because they are richer, because they understand symbolism. If you want to create a life of greater abundance, surround yourself with symbols of integrity, care, and wholeness. And if you say, I cannot afford new dishes, ask yourself whether part of the reason life feels constrained is because you continue to normalize environments shaped by lack. Balconies, storage rooms, garages, cemeteries of dead energy. Now let us go to the most painful area. The balcony, the storage room, the garage, the corner of the home you avoid. What is there? A television that has not worked in 3 years. A broken vacuum cleaner you may repair someday. Boxes of magazines from a decade ago. Children's things, although the child is now 20. Jars, bags, empty boxes, just in case. Skis you used once 15 years ago. That is not storage. It is a cemetery. A cemetery of your energy, your time, your possibilities. Every item, there is an anchor to the past. Broken technology is especially powerful symbolically. It represents dysfunction. And when your environment is filled with dead mechanisms, it becomes harder not to internalize the message of stuckness. You may say, it is expensive to remove. I need to transport it. It is inconvenient. Yes, it may require effort, but what costs more? 2 hours and some money to clear dead weight from your space? Or another 10 years living in a swamp of stagnation because you could not let go? Old magazines and books are another story. You say, but that is knowledge. That has value. Not always. Sometimes it is not knowledge, it is outdated information occupying space that could be available for what is relevant now. If you truly intended to read those materials, you likely would have done so already. Toxic gifts, poison in beautiful packaging. Now we reach one of the most emotionally charged categories. Gifts from people with whom you have painful or broken relationships. A vase from the ex-husband who betrayed you. A painting from parents who never accepted your life choices. Jewelry from the friend who later betrayed you. A watch from a boss who humiliated you publicly. Why are these things still in your space? Because they were expensive? Because they are attractive? Because they are memories? Let us be honest. They are memories of pain, disrespect, betrayal, humiliation. That is not nostalgia. That is an open wound. And every time your body registers those objects, the neural networks associated with the pain are activated again. This is not a neutral reminder. It can become a form of repeated reliving. Getting rid of such objects is not cruelty. It is not ingratitude. It is surgery. You are removing an energetic tumor from your environment. You are cutting a repetitive tie to pain. You are protecting your nervous system from unnecessary re-traumatization. If the item has financial value, sell it, donate it, pass it on to someone for whom it will carry no emotional poison, but remove it from your space immediately. What happens when you let go of things? Listen carefully. When you release an old object, several processes happen at once. Physically, space opens. Psychologically, attention is freed. Energetically, frozen force becomes available again. Neurologically, you interrupt an old loop and make room for a new pattern. And perhaps most importantly, you send a new signal to life. I trust the future. I am ready for the new. I do not need to cling to what is over. People who go through deep spatial clearing often describe similar experiences. At first, discomfort, a strange emptiness, sometimes even anxiety, then lightness, relief, the sense of having taken off a heavy backpack, and within weeks, unexpected openings begin to appear. A call with a work opportunity, a chance meeting, an offer, a financial shift, a conversation that matters, a possibility they could not see before. Is that magic? No. It is often the result of space, attention, and nervous system capacity finally becoming available again. Physical clutter is only the first layer. It is the most visible and often the easiest place to begin. But even this level alone can shift your life dramatically. Start small. One shelf, one box, one drawer. Keep what you actually use and what genuinely brings value. Release the rest, without drama, without endless hesitation, without looking back every 2 minutes. And observe what begins to shift. But now let me tell you something essential. You can clear the closet, throw away the broken dishes, remove the junk from the balcony, make the apartment cleaner and brighter, and still feel that your life is fundamentally blocked. Why? Because the most dangerous clutter is not outside, it is inside. You can live in a minimalist apartment and still remain emotionally impoverished, physically depleted, relationally trapped, and psychologically stuck. Because the real landfill may still exist in the mind. A landfill of resentment, fear, guilt, toxic beliefs, unprocessed pain, destructive relational patterns. And now we go there. It may hurt. But without entering this layer, there is no real liberation. Resentment, the rust of the soul. Let us begin with one of the heaviest burdens of all, resentment. Close your eyes and ask yourself, who are you still carrying inside you? The mother who criticized you your whole life? The father who left or stayed emotionally absent? The grandmother who told you that you would never achieve anything? The former partner who betrayed you? The friend who let you down? The boss who stole your idea and took the credit? The list is usually long. Now imagine that each resentment is a sack of stones on your back. You carry them year after year, decade after decade. Can you feel the weight? Resentment is not just an emotion. It is a repeated internal process. You may think, I was hurt once, long ago, and that is over. But every time you replay the memory, and many people do this dozens of times a day, often unconsciously the same neural and physiological patterns reactivate. Stress hormones rise, the body enters strain, energy leaks, the immune system is affected, the nervous system remains tied to a past wound. Negative emotional memories often imprint more deeply than positive ones. From an evolutionary point of view, that made sense. Remembering danger mattered for survival, but in modern life, this mechanism can become a curse. The brain rehearses the injury again and again, strengthening the pathways of pain. And here is one of the most painful truths. As long as you hold resentment, you remain connected to the person who hurt you, energetically, emotionally, often neurologically. You keep feeding them your life force. They may not even know it. They may have forgotten you. They may even be gone from this world. And still, you continue giving them space in your nervous system. People say, I cannot forgive. What they did is unforgivable. But forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. Forgiveness does not mean approval. It does not mean denial. It does not mean pretending something was acceptable. It means refusing to remain imprisoned by the injury forever. You think resentment punishes the offender. Most of the time, it punishes only you. Guilt. The heaviest anchor if resentment is anger turned outward. Guilt is anger turned inward. And it can be even more destructive. You remember the moment you betrayed someone, the moment you failed to show up, the choice you regret, the person you hurt, the lie, the abandonment, the failure, and every time it returns, it burns. Shame, self-disgust, the desire to disappear, and you cannot release it because some part of you believes, I am a bad person. I do not deserve forgiveness. I should suffer for this. So what happens? You begin to punish yourself unconsciously. You sabotage opportunities. You damage relationships. You block success. You get stuck. Sometimes even the body begins to carry the burden. Because deep down, a hidden program is running. I do not deserve happiness. You can visualize abundance all day long. You can repeat affirmations until you are exhausted, but if the deeper program says, "I am unworthy," the subconscious will quietly undermine everything. So what do? Take responsibility. Acknowledge the harm. Repair what can be repaired. Apologize where it is possible. Make amends where appropriate. And when repair is no longer possible, then the work becomes this. You forgive yourself, not because what happened was good, not because there was no harm, but because you were operating then with a different level of awareness, maturity, pain, and capacity than you have now. Growth means that the person you are today can see what the person you were then could not fully see. Endlessly torturing yourself for the past is not virtue. Often it is avoidance disguised as morality. It can feel easier to suffer forever than to forgive yourself and risk living again. Toxic beliefs. Viruses of consciousness. Now let us go even deeper into beliefs. The phrases you heard so often in childhood that they fused with your nervous system and began to feel like truth, even when they were false. Money is evil. Rich people are dishonest. You cannot earn much through honest work. Love means suffering. You must endure. You have to work yourself into the ground. Life is hard. People like us do not get more. You should be grateful for whatever you get. Sound familiar? These are not harmless phrases. They are mental programs. If you heard again and again that money corrupts, then every time a real opportunity for expansion appears, an inner voice may whisper, "That is greedy. That is not for good people. Do not want too much." And so you reject the raise, the idea, the investment, the possibility, because becoming prosperous unconsciously feels like becoming bad. Then there is the belief that love equals suffering, so people stay in relationships that drain, belittle, humiliate, or diminish them because they confuse pain with devotion. But real love does not require self-erasure. Codependency does, trauma does, fear does. Genuine love brings strength, joy, and expansion, not chronic depletion. And then there is the work myth. You must grind endlessly. You must suffer to deserve. You must exhaust yourself. So people work 12-hour days, burn through their nervous systems, sacrifice health, and still do not prosper. Because effort alone is not the same as intelligent creation. Labor without alignment is not virtue. It is often a form of unconscious bondage. These beliefs are not your identity. They are inherited code, downloaded from parents who were themselves living in fear. From systems that benefit when people remain obedient, exhausted, and disconnected from their own power. And now it is your responsibility to remove them. Social clutter. People who drain life. Now we come to another painful truth. Your environment includes people, and not all people are neutral. Look at those you spend the most time with. The friend who always calls to unload her pain but never asks how you are. The person who borrows money and pain was people of why, forgets to return it. The relatives who criticize your life choices every time they see you. The colleagues who feed on cynicism, gossip, and complaint. These are not always intimate connections. Sometimes they are drains. They do not relate to you as an equal presence. They use you as an emotional container. And over time, they pull you toward their level of helplessness, resentment, poverty consciousness, and stagnation. You protest. But she is my mother. He is my childhood friend. We have known each other for years. Yes. And how many years have you spent living according to other people's approval, fear, guilt, and expectations? Blood ties are not a license for toxicity. History is not a justification for disrespect. Healthy relationships leave you feeling clearer, stronger, more alive. Toxic relationships leave you feeling depleted, anxious, guilty, and heavy. Take inventory. How do you feel after each interaction with the people in your circle? Be honest. The fear of loneliness. The last trap, then comes the final defense. If I let all these people go, I will be alone. Maybe, for a while, yes. And that terrifies people because loneliness once meant danger at the level of primitive survival. But times have changed. Today, solitude is not death. It can become a reset, a clearing, an opening in which you can hear your own mind, separate your voice from the voices of others, reconnect with your real desires, and create room for healthier bonds. As long as your time, attention, and energy are tied up maintaining toxic connections, There is no room for nourishing ones. Release the draining relationships, and space appears. At first, it may feel empty. It may even hurt. But that emptiness is fertile, and from it, something new can grow. People who give as well as receive. People who support rather than diminish. People who value rather than use. Mental and social clutter are harder to remove than physical clutter because you cannot simply place them in a bag and carry them outside. But they can be released through forgiveness, through self-forgiveness, through challenging destructive beliefs, through boundaries, through endings when endings are necessary. It is painful, it is frightening, but it is one of the only real paths to freedom. Knowledge without action is dead by now. You understand the problem. Physical clutter, mental clutter, toxic relational environments. You can nod and say, yes, this is about me. I see it. But now what? This is the point where most people close the video, exhale, say, very interesting, and return to the same life. Why? Because knowledge without action is dead. In some ways, it is more dangerous than ignorance. Before, you could say, I did not know. Now you do know. And if nothing changes, then the stagnation becomes a conscious choice. So let me make this practical. I am not going to leave you with abstract philosophy or beautiful words alone. I want to give you a clear ritual for releasing space, not just cleaning, a ritual, because there is a difference. Cleaning is mechanical. A ritual is intentional. Cleaning removes objects. A ritual changes your relationship to reality. When you throw things out, mechanically, you create physical room. Good. But when you do it consciously, you also release emotional ties, interrupt old programs, send your nervous system a new signal, and reinforce new neural pathways. Intentional action changes us more deeply than unconscious repetition. So here is the process. The ritual of releasing space. Step 1. Intention and gratitude. Take the object you have decided to release. Anything. An old t-shirt, a cracked cup, a gift from a toxic person, a magazine from 10 years ago. Hold it in your hands. Feel its weight, texture, temperature. Now do not just throw it into a trash bag like you are attacking a part of yourself. This object had a role in your life. Maybe once it served you. Maybe once it brought joy. Maybe it taught you something. Acknowledge that. Say, either aloud or silently, thank you for being part of my life. Thank you for what you gave. Thank you for the lesson. Even if the object is tied to pain, thank it for revealing something important. Then say clearly, I release you. I create space for new wealth in my life, or love, or health, or peace, or all of it. Choose the word that matters most right now. This is not empty language. It is a directional command to your own psyche. You are saying, I am ready. The old goes, the new may now enter. Place the object into the bag or box calmly, consciously, with respect, not with panic, not with rage, not with hesitation. That completes the act. Repeat, again and again, gratitude, release, placement. Yes, it takes longer than mindlessly stuffing a bag in 5 minutes. But remember, this is not just tidying, it is transformation through conscious action. Step 2. The 24-hour rule. This is critical. Many people begin well. They gather the items, do the ritual, place everything into bags, and then leave the bags in the hallway, on the balcony, in the garage. I will take them out tomorrow, this weekend, when I have time. And then nothing changes. In fact, sometimes it feels worse, because now the home contains not just clutter, but consciously activated clutter still occupying the space. You have symbolically released it, but physically it remains. That creates dissonance. The rule is simple. Everything you have collected to release must leave your home within 24 hours, maximum 1 day. Better immediately. Throw it away, donate it, recycle it, pass it on, but remove it physically and completely. As long as those bags remain in your space, the process is unfinished. The vacuum has not yet been created. And while the bags remain, temptation appears. Maybe I should look through them one more time. Maybe I need that after all. And then you begin rescuing the trash, returning it to its place. and the ritual collapses. The 2-4-hour rule is not a suggestion. It is part of the act. Step 3. Start small right now. You may feel overwhelmed. The closet is full. The balcony is buried. Your mind is overloaded. Your relationships are complicated. It may feel impossible. So do not try to do everything at once. The brain does not love abrupt, large-scale change. When change feels too big, resistance intensifies. Start small, very small. One object. Today. Not tomorrow. A receipt in your wallet, an expired coupon, a cracked mug, a pen that no longer works, old makeup, a single sock with no pair. Take one thing, do the ritual, release it. That is enough for today. One act is how momentum begins. Small actions often bypass resistance. They slip under the radar of fear and become habits. And habits reshape lives. One object a day is 365 objects a year. Think about the amount of space, breath, order, and energy that creates. But do not think about the year. Think about today. The trap of perfectionism. Be warned, you will be tempted to do this properly. You will tell yourself you need a full day, a perfect plan, beautiful storage boxes, categories, labels, perhaps photos for resale. And while you prepare for the ideal clearing, weeks pass, months pass, years pass. Perfectionism is often fear in elegant clothing. You are not preparing, you are delaying. Forget perfect, begin messy, begin imperfectly. Begin in whatever form you can. An imperfect action is infinitely more powerful than a flawless plan that never becomes real. Make this a way of life. Releasing space is not a one-time event. It is a practice. Every day, something enters your life. Purchases, gifts, papers, information, influences, people. So every day, something must also leave. Otherwise, accumulation begins again. Create a principle. When something new enters, something old exits. New shirt in, old shirt out. New insight in, old limiting belief out. New relationship in, toxic one out. This is how life breathes. Inhale, exhale, arrival, departure, flow. Stagnation is death. Movement is life. One hidden symbol that blocks prosperity more than almost anything else. Now we come to something many people overlook entirely. There is one category of objects that can symbolize stagnation more powerfully than piles of magazines, packed closets, or even toxic gifts. And because they often look harmless or even decorative, people keep them in the most visible places. On the wall, on a shelf, beside the bed, on the wrist. I am talking about broken clocks, stopped clocks, watches that no longer run. This matters more than most people realize. Why? Stopped clocks matter. A clock is not just a device for measuring time. It is a symbol, an ancient one. It represents movement, continuity, progression, life. A ticking clock says, time is moving, life is unfolding, change is happening. A stopped clock says the opposite. Time has frozen, movement has ceased, nothing changes. Each time your brain registers a stopped clock, consciously or unconsciously, it receives a message of stagnation, and the brain is highly responsive to symbols. It does not always distinguish between literal and symbolic input as cleanly as people imagine. Symbolic environments matter. You can repeat, "My life is moving forward all day long," but if a clock has been frozen at 3:15 on your wall for 2 years, another message is being reinforced in the background. You are stuck. It becomes materialized stagnation, frozen time, embodied immobility. And while that symbol remains in your environment, it can mirror and reinforce the experience of living the same day over and over again. Why people keep broken clocks, you say? But it is decorative. It is beautiful. It is antique. It was expensive. It belonged to my grandmother. These are familiar justifications, and yet the principle is the same. Nothing decorative is worth a life lived in stagnation. If the clock is valuable, repair it. If it is collectible, sell it to someone who will restore it. If it is meaningful, honor the meaning by bringing it back to life. But do not keep dead time in your home. And if it belonged to someone you loved, ask yourself, would that person truly want their memory tied to your stagnation? The best way to honor love is to live fully. Broken watches on the body. A stopped watch is even more serious in symbolic terms, because now you are not just housing the symbol, you are wearing it on your body all day. A broken watch on the wrist can become a silent declaration. My life is frozen. You may say, I wear it like jewelry, I just like the style. But psychologically, that is still a form of self-sabotage. If it matters to you, repair it. If it is not worth repairing, release it. Do not wear dead time on your body. If you wear a watch, let it run. Let it reflect movement, not stoppage. What to do with stopped? Clocks go through your home. Check every clock. Kitchen, bedroom, living room, hallway, shelves, drawers, boxes. How many have stopped? Each one is a symbolic anchor. Now decide. Repair it. Sell or donate it. Or throw it away. No vague someday. Choose. If it is to be repaired, set a specific date. If it is to go, do the ritual and remove it within 24 hours. This is not a trivial detail. For many people, it becomes one of the most powerful symbolic acts of change. To restart time in your environment is to restart movement in your life. People who remove all stopped clocks from their homes often describe an immediate psychological shift. Some then begin noticing changes externally as well. Movement in work, changes in relationships, renewed motivation, openings that had felt blocked. Coincidence? Perhaps sometimes, but symbols matter, and time is one of the strongest symbols we live with. The great illusion of accumulation. We have come a long way, from the law of emptiness, to physical clutter, to mental debris, to toxic relationships, to the ritual of release, to the symbol of stopped clocks. And now we arrive at the deeper revelation beneath all of it. The modern world teaches one message again and again. Wealth means possession. The more you have, the richer you are. More money, more square meters, more clothes, more contacts, more status, more. So people chase, accumulate, exhaust themselves, protect everything they have. Fear loss. Cling to every object, every person, every number. Because the assumption is, if I let go, I become poorer. But that is one of the biggest illusions of all. The truth is often the opposite. Real wealth is not what you can acquire. It is what you can release without collapsing. Your level of freedom matters more than your level of possession. The truly rich person is not simply the one who has much. It is the one who is not enslaved by what they have. Who is richer? The millionaire who lives in fear of losing everything, obsessed with control, unable to sleep, deeply attached to money. Or the person with modest means who lives in peace, enjoys each day, and is not ruled by material dependence. The first is captive, the second is free, and freedom is a deeper form of wealth. Freedom from fear of loss, freedom from compulsive attachment, freedom from the weight of the past, freedom from toxic people, freedom from mental clutter. The paradox of letting go here is the paradox at the heart of everything I have shared with you. To receive more, you often must release what you already have. To be filled with the new, you must empty out the old. To become truly prosperous, you must stop being ruled by the fear of having less. As long as you cling to the job you hate because you fear having no money, the better path cannot appear. As long as you cling to toxic relationships because you fear loneliness, real love cannot enter. As long as you hoard objects because you fear not being able to replace them, abundance passes you by. Fear of loss creates loss. Attachment creates dependence. The urge to grip pushes life away. This sounds illogical to the survival mind, but life often moves according to principles deeper than fear. Remember the law of emptiness. Nature moves to fill space, but the space must exist first. You cannot invite the new into a room occupied by the dead, and this is what many people eventually discover. The more they release, the more begins to come. Not instantly, not always dramatically. Sometimes life tests your sincerity. Are you truly ready? Or will you rush back to the familiar at the first sign of uncertainty? But if you continue, if you keep clearing, keep releasing, keep trusting the process without demanding immediate reward, eventually the dam breaks. And what flows in can be far greater than what you ever forced through struggle. Wealth as a state of consciousness. there are people living in luxury who feel poor, and there are people living in modest circumstances who feel inwardly abundant. The difference is not always the bank account. It is consciousness. A deprived mind says, "It is not enough. I need more. I might lose what I have. I must hold on to everything." An abundant mind says, "I have enough to begin. I am grateful for what is here. I can release what is over. I trust that life moves." Can you feel the difference? One is contracted, fearful, tight. The other is open, trusting, available. And reality tends to organize around the dominant inner state. Releasing clutter is not just housework, it is consciousness work. Every object you let go of loosens attachment. Every resentment you forgive frees energy. Every toxic bond you end strengthens self-respect. Every limiting belief you question creates cognitive space for a new identity. You are not just tidying your life, you are reorganizing your tidiness, mind. And the brain remains plastic. New neural pathways can form throughout life in response to new experience, especially when action is meaningful and repeated. Each act of release teaches the nervous system, I can let go and remain safe. I can create space and survive. I can trust movement. With repetition, these become not isolated moments, but pathways. And pathways become patterns. And patterns become identity. The final formula, let me give you one simple formula that contains the essence of everything we have explored. Stop asking. Start clearing. For years, people ask life, God, the universe, higher intelligence, whatever language they use for money, love, health, success. They ask, pray, visualize, affirm. And so often, little changes. Why? Because they are asking for something new while refusing to release what is old. Life does not operate like a charity handing out gifts on demand. It responds to conditions, structure, patterns, capacity. And one of the deepest laws is this: create the space and it will be filled. Clear the place and something new can enter. Stop begging for wealth. Start removing poverty consciousness physically, mentally, socially. Stop begging for love. Start releasing toxic bonds, old hurt, and beliefs of unworthiness. Stop begging for health. Start removing what poisons your environment, your psyche, your nervous system. Action matters more than words. One bag of released clutter can matter more than hours of empty meditation. One ended toxic bond can matter more than thousands of affirmations. One removed stopped clock can become more symbolically powerful than endless visualization. Do not merely ask, release, clear, open, then observe what changes. Energy works through exchange. You have received something through this message, insight, challenge, perhaps recognition. Now, the essential question is not whether the message was powerful. The question is what you will do with it. Because truth without movement changes nothing. So after this, do not just reflect, act. Choose one thing, one object, one resentment to begin processing, one boundary to set, one clock to repair or remove, one belief to challenge, one toxic dynamic to stop. Eating, just one, and begin. What happens next now? You have a choice. You can close this and go back to the same overcrowded space, the same emotional loops, the same draining relationships, the same familiar stagnation. Or you can stand up, find one thing, and start the process. That one act may seem small, but small acts are often the first stones in an avalanche. I cannot choose for you. No one can. This is your life, your mind, your patterns, your responsibility. But if you choose the second path, remember this: you are not alone. Many people have walked this path. They released space, they interrupted old patterns, they created room, and life began to respond differently. What happened for them can happen for you. Final word: true wealth is freedom. Freedom from attachment, freedom from fear, freedom from the past, freedom from excess. Freedom to be yourself fully, to love openly, to create without contraction, to live with presence and dignity, And the path to that freedom runs through release, through letting go, through creating emptiness, through trusting that what is real can enter only when what is dead is no longer occupying the space. The law of emptiness works all the time, for everyone, without exception. Create space, and it will be filled. That is one of the promises built into reality itself. Your time has come. Your clocks are ticking. Every second spent in stagnation is a second that does not return. Every day spent gripping the old is a day unavailable to the new. How much longer will you wait? Begin now. One object, one step, one decision, and then watch what happens. Watch the energy begin to move. Watch the breath return. Watch the doors start to open. Watch the new begin to arrive. You are worthy of abundance. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of a life that is fully alive. But first, you must create room for it. So the question is, are you ready to make space for the new? Because your new life does not begin tomorrow. It begins in the moment you release what no longer belongs in it.